So again, for those of you who I have not met, my name is Russell Borum, Senior Account Manager for Morningstar Corporation, and welcome to the Solar Lighting Applications and Training webinar. All right, so this afternoon, a little bit of an agenda for you. Our goal is to keep this under 1 hour, including the Q&A at the end. We will start off talking a little bit about Morningstar Corporation, talk a little bit about solar lighting applications. We'll go into the Morningstar products for solar lighting. Then we'll transition into programming a SunSaver MPPT for lighting. We'll do a little bit of a wrap-up and a closure, and then we will open it up for Q&A. So that is our agenda for this afternoon. So we'll start off with who is Morningstar. So Morningstar Corporation is a manufacturer of solar charge controllers and inverters. Our focus, our 6 pillars, as you can see there, first and foremost is long-term consistency and customer focus. This is our 20th year manufacturing solar charge controllers. Our reputation is of the highest quality and reliability products available on the market today. We are known for giving very high value to the marketplace and innovative new products as they come available on the market. Leadership, we are one of the largest solar charge controller and inverter manufacturers in the off-grid solar market, and our global presence. Our products are available in more than 90 countries around the world. So again, very, very large global presence for solar controllers in the off-grid. So next we'll transition a little bit into some solar lighting applications for where you may use these products. The typical solar lighting applications that we've seen from our customer base, this list here is not comprehensive at all. Street lighting, security lighting, parking lot lighting, remote and rural lighting, and many others. So I will just touch on these top 4, but as many of you know out there, there are many others in which customers are using our products for lighting applications. So here's a quick couple of shots on some solar lighting applications for street lighting, for solar street lighting. You can see 2 different examples there from a couple of different countries that are using our products. On this next slide, another example of solar street lighting. You can see it in both sort of rural and urban settings, different applications for displaying lights on a roadway. Next example, we'll move into security lighting. Again, if there's a perimeter or a particular area in which you want to protect at night, you might do something similar to what you see here on the screen. And a second example here of security lighting, you can see both the lighting system is secure as well as multi-directional lighting as well. So again, the same idea of lighting a particular area at night. The next application that's very popular is parking lot lighting. A little bit similar application to the street lighting in that you're illuminating for cars, but in this case it's for a stationary area as opposed to a place where cars are moving. Here showing you again another example of some parking lot lighting. The second one clearly is an airport, so you can see both urban and industrial settings for this particular application. Here we have remote and rural lighting. This one's taking in developing world application. You can see where you're very, very far off the grid, and an application here where They're lighting up sort of small villages in other countries. And in this next slide here, again, a couple of application photos on remote and rural lighting, just to give you an idea of the locations. Next to the ocean, on an island near Ellis Island in New York, and a couple of remote locations, including those where the streetlights are literally on an unpaved dirt path. So, again, very different and varied applications for remote and rural lighting. So next, we're going to transition into the Morningstar products that can be used for solar lighting. So what you see on the matrix there in front of you, we've sort of grouped the products for DC lighting and for AC lighting. For DC lighting, we have the SS-NL, the Sunlight controller, the SunSaver MPPT controller, and the Tristar PWM controller. For the AC lighting, it's a combination of the Sunlight and the Sine inverter, all manufactured by Morningstar. So I'll go into each one of these products individually. So here you can see the SS-NL, stands for nightlight. The two versions that I'm showing here are the 6 amp version and the 10 amp version. The nice thing about this lighting controller is that it's pre-programmed for dusk to dawn lighting control for 12-volt systems. So it's very, very easy to install and to deploy into the field. Again, 6 amps or 10 amps for 12 volts. Tropicalization on this controller, we put tropicalization on our controllers to protect them in harsh environments. This one is fully electronically protected and also has LED indicators so that you know what your battery level is from a distance. So the next controller I'll talk about is the Sunlight controller, showing two versions here, the 10 amp and the 20 amp. Note that each 10 amp and 20 amp comes either 12 or 24 volts. So it's actually 4 different model numbers. Very important when looking at the Sunlight controller. A few other things about the Sunlight. There's 10 field adjustable lighting control options, and those lighting control options are actually adjusted by using a screwdriver here on the lighting control switch. There's also a test 5-minute on button right below that here. So after the installation, you can test and make sure that the controller has been set up and installed properly. And this controller is a fully potted controller, so it's completely sealed from epoxy inside, again, to protect against harsh environments for a very robust installation. So a little bit on those lighting control options. So from that dial, based upon the trigger points of sunset and sunrise, you have these lighting control options available to you by using a screwdriver to adjust the dial on the face of the Sunlight controller. The first set of options are the number of hours after sunset that the lights will be on. The next 3 options are the on, off, on options, and those options are very popular for bus station applications where you want the lights to come on after sunset, turn off in the middle of the night, and then turn on again 1 or 2 hours before sunrise. The very last option, also very popular, is the dusk till dawn, or the all night on option. Okay. The next product that you're seeing on your screen is the SunSaver MPPT controller. This is Morningstar's small MPPT controller offering that does lighting control as well. So a few bullets on the SunSaver MPPT controller. This one is 12 and 24 volts selectable, and it includes our patented MPPT solar algorithm. 15 amps of capacity, 75 volts open circuit, and this one for the protection is both epoxy encapsulated and conformally coated. We've done both in this particular product. Fully electronic protections. The custom programmability and the preset lighting programs I'm going to go into a little bit later in this presentation, but both of those are available in this controller. And again, the LED indicators here on the face of the controller so that you know exactly what's going on, both with your battery levels and the status of the system. The next controller for the DC lighting is our Tristar PWM controller. Here I'm showing it both with and without the optional meter. We have a 40 amp version and we have a 60 amp version of our Tristar PWM controller. A few bullets about the Tristar PWM. You can use this in 12, 24, or 48 volt systems. We have conformal coating on both sides of the boards, again, to protect against those harsh environments that we saw in the photos earlier. Electronic protections throughout the controller, again, one of the most robust controllers available on the market. But when used for lighting, there are 7 pre-programmed settings used in the dip switches that are inside of the controller. They're very similar to the sunlight controller settings, which I showed on the previous slide. And on the next slide that I'm showing you here, you'll note that you do need to use 2 controllers in order to use the Tristar PWM controller in lighting mode. So what I'm highlighting here is that your first controller for the Tristar is used to charge the batteries from the solar array. It's the second controller in load or lighting control mode that's actually used as your lighting controller. Okay, so it's a 2 controller setup, and I'm going to specifically talk about the Tristar in the lighting control mode, this sort of second Tristar you see on the right. For the second Tristar, there are preset lighting control options similar to the sunlight controller. By adjusting dip switches 4, 5, and 6 after the Tristar has been put into load control mode, you can select which one of the options you would like to have. And of course, we also have the dusk till dawn option as the last option as well. So that's done by adjusting the dip switches within the Tristar after it's been set to load control mode. You can see the link at the bottom there for a little bit more information on how to set that up should you choose to use that controller for a lighting option. So a little bit about AC lighting. We have a couple of customers that have requested sort of an AC lighting solution, and what Morningstar has done is put together this diagram and sort of walk them through the ability to use a sunlight controller with our SureSine inverter, our 300 watt pure sine SureSine inverter. What we've done is allowed customers to put a relay in on the DC side of the circuit for the sunlight controller, and that relay will activate the on and off switch of the inverter. So that is what turns on the AC out and allows the light to come on. So again, that's sort of the mechanism by which customers are doing AC lighting with the Morningstar products. So as I move through the agenda here, next up we'll talk a little bit about the SunSaver MPPT programming and customization. So the 2 sections in this portion here are, one is uploading a pre-configured lighting program, and 2 is the custom programming of a SunSaver MPPT controller. Right. So when you download the MSView software from the Morningstar website, included in that software are some pre-configured lighting programs. The 5 that you see on the screen are the ones that come with the software. I will make special note now of the first one here, dusk till dawn in the daytime. There are few applications where customers have said, I want to turn my lights on during the day or some other load, not at night. Is there a way to sort of reverse it? So Morningstar provides this option as a pre-configured lighting option that runs during the day, but we also run 4, 6, and 8 hours, and then we have the traditional dusk till dawn option as well for the pre-programmed lighting control for the SunSaver MPPT. Right. So let's step through the materials that you're going to need if you're going to choose the SunSaver MPPT as your lighting controller option. First thing you'll need is the controller. The second material that you'll need are the MSC adapter. And when you order the Morningstar MSC adapter, you will get 3 pieces in the box. You'll have both the telephone cable, the serial cable, and the actual MSC adapter itself. The next product you'll need is a serial to USB cable. This one that we have pictured here is the Triplite serial to USB cable. We've tested this one and we know that it works. So this is the one that we're showing here. And the last item that you're going to need is the MSView software. This is the Morningstar software. Note that it is Windows-based PC only, and it is available at the website URL link below. So that is the software that you will use to program the actual controller. So let's go ahead and sort of step through the steps here. So step 1 is to check the dip switch settings on the MPPT controller. Very important to make sure that you have those dip switch settings set correctly to make sure that you are ready to go for the programming. The next step is to walk through the MSC sort of hookup and the cable procedure. So the first thing you'll do is connect the telephone cable into the port on the SunSaver MPPT. Next step is to connect the MSC adapter to the telephone cable port. The next step is to connect the MSC to the serial adapter cable. And when it's completed, you should have something similar to this, where you have a controller hooked up and the cable all connected through to the end to a USB connection. Step 7, go ahead and connect the USB cable to the back of your PC. And step 8 is go ahead and power on the SunSaver MPPT controller. You'll note that when you power it on or connect the battery, that one of the LED battery status lights should turn on, and that way you know that you are powered up and ready to go. Step 9, go ahead and open up the MSView software to the home screen. So navigate through your Windows and open that one up. And to do the programming, the first step in the software is to click on Devices and then scroll down till you see Search for Connected Devices. All right. Now, if you have the cable set up and the controller powered up, the software should automatically find the controller connected to your computer. So you would select the controller that you have connected and just go ahead and click Connect. And if this has worked out for you correctly, on the left side of MS View you should see a green icon, and that green icon will let you know that the controller is communicating with the software. So the next step is to disconnect the communication because after you've verified the communication, it needs to be disconnected before you program again. So go ahead and right-click on the green icon and you'll see a window drop down here and click on Disconnect. And when you disconnect, you should see the icon turn red. And that's how you know that you've disconnected the controller from the software. And the next step is to go into the SunSaver MPPT setup wizard. When you go into the wizard, you'll get a warning screen that pops up just to double check to make sure everything is okay, and click on OK there. And the next step is to click on Read from File, and that is the first button on the Custom Settings summary screen. So when that opens up, you'll get a window that says, well, where are the programs needed to set these up? So you'll go through and you will navigate to the folder where you have the preset programs. Click whichever preset program you'd like to use and then click on Open. And when you open that preset program, what should happen is you will see in the custom settings summary all of the settings that have been uploaded, and go ahead and click Program SunSaver MPPT. The next screen will ask you to verify those communication settings. Now this should auto-populate correctly, or should be the same communication settings that we initially set up, so you should not need to change anything on this screen. And when you click Next, you will see a blue bar go across the screen, and you should see a line that says Programming completed successfully. So that will let you know that the program has been successfully sent to the SunSaver MPPT controller. And the last step is to reset power by disconnecting the battery terminals and reconnecting the battery terminals. And that will sort of solidify the program into the controller, and you are all set and you're ready for installation. Okay. So now what if you are a sort of next level programmer and you want to custom program your SunSaver MPPT? That's fine. We'll go ahead and walk through those steps now as well. So first step, just like before, go ahead and double check your dip switch settings and make sure that you have those set correctly. You'll connect the telephone cable into the meter port just like before. You will connect the MSC to the telephone cable on step 3. Step 4, just like before, connect the MSC to the serial cable on the other side. And when those steps are all completed, you should see that you have something similar to this, ending in a USB connection. And the last step is go ahead and plug in the USB to the back of your computer or to your laptop. So step 7, go ahead and power on your MPPT controller. Again, you should see the LEDs flash or light up on the battery status screen of the SunSaver MPPT. And open up your MS View software to the home screen. So this time, for the custom programming, what you'll want to do is at the top, click on Tools, and then scroll down till you see the SunSaver MPPT Setup Wizard. Go ahead and click on that. And the next screen that pops up is the warning screen. Again, double checking to make sure that everything is okay. The next screen that comes up is the custom settings summary screen. But on this screen, we're going to click on Create New, which is the last button on the top row. And the first screen that pops up after that is for Charge Settings 1. Now this is the point where I will stop and ask you to please double check the battery manufacturer's recommended charge settings. They're different for every battery type, so it's important that you match those settings to how you are programming the charge controller. And notice that at this particular Charge Settings 1, there is a jumper between the negative of the load and the jumper terminal that is at the end of the charge controller. So after you have filled in all of the settings that you need to for Charge Settings 1, go ahead and click Next. And you'll get the option for Charge Settings number 2. These are the settings that will be used when the jumper is removed. You'll notice here that the jumper has been removed. However, again, it's very important to double check the manufacturer's recommended charge settings for the batteries that you are using. Next step for the custom programming are shared settings, and these are the settings that will be used by both Charge Settings 1 and Charge Settings number 2, the temperature compensation and the voltage disconnect settings. So again, go ahead and fill those out, and after you've completed those, go down and click Next. The next step here is for the low voltage disconnect and whether or not you want to use the high voltage disconnect. These will be used, again, shared regardless of the jumper being in or out of the controller. So go ahead and fill out those load settings as needed, then click Next. And now we are into the lighting functionality of the SunSaver MPPT. So the first step here is click on Enable Lighting, which is in the center of the lighting mode screen. And the second step here is to configure the channels for how you want the lighting or load connections to behave. So for this first step, for channel 1, it's the number of hours after sunset to turn on the lights, and that is set up here. So you would go in and sort of set those up with those particular drop-downs. Step 3 is to configure the channel 1 for the number of hours after sunrise to turn off the lights. So again, you would go in and set up the programming here for that particular step. Now, on step 4, you can verify the configuration using the sum of all timers graphic. And this one is important to sort of take note, where the way to read this is you start off with day and nighttime, and you would read this in a clockwise fashion. So at sunset, the lights will turn on. The lights will stay on all night long until sunrise. At the point of sunrise, the lights will turn off and the batteries will recharge all day long. So again, you would use this and read it in a clockwise fashion to know what's going on, and that's your verification that you have set up everything correctly. Now for the other sort of customized settings, the on, off, on settings, those can also be created by mixing the channel 1 and channel 2, and they can be verified on the sum of all timers screen, as you can see in front of you here. So for this particular case, we have the lights set up for 2 hours after midnight and for 2 hours before midnight. So what's going on here? So again, we charge the battery all day, and at 2 hours before midnight, so we're using midnight here as our trigger point, at 2 hours before midnight, we turn lights on. They'll turn off here at this 2 hour point, and at this 2 hour point, they'll turn back on and stay on until sunrise. So this, again, is the sort of operation from sunset until sunrise for on, off, on settings within the SunSaver MPPT. And you have the freedom to change these settings as you see fit and as you need for your particular application. The next step is to set the sunrise and sunset percent voltage threshold. Now, we see systems that are being installed all around the world at different tilt angles, and as such, you will need to adjust what percent of max VOC, of max voltage of the array, for the sunrise and sunset threshold. Again, so adjust those settings depending on where you are in the world, and then go ahead and click Next. The next settings here for the LED transition voltages and for the communication settings, these are the miscellaneous settings screen. After you've set those up, usually the defaults are okay, but you can adjust them if need be. Go ahead and click Finish at the bottom of the screen. And for step 7, you should see everything filled out again as you had previously done. And our recommendation here is to review the custom settings summary. So each one of those tabs, charge settings 1, charge 2, charges that are shared, load, lighting, and miscellaneous should be reviewed to make sure that you are happy with the programming and the settings as they are. Step 8, go ahead and send those settings to the SunSaver MPPT unit by clicking on Program SunSaver MPPT. On step 9, again, verify the communication settings. This should auto-populate just as we saw before from that communication verification. And just go ahead and click Next, and that should go straight through. And you should get through to the confirmation screen. So what you'll see here is a blue bar that goes across, and again, the programming completed successfully. So that's how you know that the program has been sent all the way to the controller without any problems or issues. And step 11, the last step, reset the power, disconnect and reconnect the battery, and then you are all done and set and ready for installation. So you can go right out and install from that particular point. So that's the custom programming of the SunSaver MPPT. And now we'll just do sort of a quick wrap-up and closure. A little bit again about Morningstar, sort of the 6 pillars of leadership: our global presence, quality, reliability, innovation, consistency, and customer focus. And those are sort of the traits of Morningstar in the off-grid solar market. The applications that we discussed, the street lighting, security lighting, remote and rural, and parking lot lighting, again, those are the most common uses, but there are many, many other uses, as I'm sure those of you in the audience have seen or will think to use. The Morningstar products that you can use for the lighting applications: the SHS, the Sunlight, the SunSaver MPPT, the Tristar PWM, and the Sine inverter. So again, those products standalone or in conjunction can be used for DC or AC lighting. And again, we walked through the SunSaver MPPT, both customization and programming. So you can use the preset programs, or you can go into the software and do a complete programming on your own. So the last step, of course, we will open it up for Q&A for questions for the next 5 to 10 minutes if anyone out there has questions. Of course, if for some reason we can't answer your questions now during the webinar, we would like to invite you to email those questions to us. And to wrap up and close, I would say thank you very much for everyone for attending the Morningstar Lighting Training and Applications. And please go ahead and pose those questions to us now. All right, we have a couple of questions here that have come in, so I will go ahead and sort of answer these as I can. Yes, we will be emailing the PowerPoint presentation and or video of the webinar, or we'll be posting those on our website, so look for that in the next couple of days. There's a question about tropicalization. Yes, that is the conformal coating that we put on our boards to protect against, again, the harsh environments that are seen. If you have specific systems questions, go ahead and send those in via email. I can't quite answer those here on the webinar. Again, if you have specific systems or programming applications, go ahead and send those in via email, as they may need a slightly longer explanation. We will have some new products that are coming next year that will include some new lighting options. So stay tuned to Morningstar for those new product releases. There's a question about the timing. So Morningstar controllers and the seasonality. Morningstar controllers are adjustable for the seasons, and they actually will self-adjust based upon the light levels for dusk and dawn. So you will notice that you'll have to set up your system for the worst conditions in winter, as we would say North American, for the worst day in winter. But the controllers will learn when dusk and dawn, sunrise and sunset are throughout the year, and will adjust the lighting accordingly. There's a couple of questions in here about specific technical specifications. I will have to direct you to the data sheets and the manuals on our website so that you can review those specifications as needed. Yes, there's a couple of questions about new products. Again, stay tuned. We have a full suite of new products that are coming next year. A question about manual switches. Yes, you can put manual switches sort of anywhere in your system. Morningstar, we try to stay focused on our products, and we don't give too much system integration information. Question about sort of mixing the products. Yes, you can use one Morningstar controller for the charging of the batteries and a lighting controller like the sunlight for just lighting control. So that is a mix that some customers have done. Email us at the info@ address and we'll get back to you on that. A couple of questions about the systems or where they can find information. When we publish this webinar, the URLs will be listed, or feel free to send us an email and we'll point you directly to where sort of more technical information is available on the website. Yeah. Again, as far as commercial or distribution information, please send us an email and we will get back to you with your local distributor where you can get product. Questions about sort of sunrise and sunset. Again, we're using the power levels that we're getting from the solar modules. That way we know when to trigger and not trigger the light timings. Okay. All right. Well, that looks like that's the sort of end of the questions that I can answer right now during the webinar. Again, we encourage all of you to check out our website at www.morningstarcorp.com and also to send us an email, info@morningstarcorp.com, if you have any other questions or if you'd like to get a copy of the webinar. Thank you very much, and we appreciate your time.